Subsets are a key component in set theory and mathematics. Many, if not most, mathematical theorems imply subset component. The symbol used to denote subset notation is very common in the language of mathematics. You'll see it all over the place. The symbol can denote when a set is a subset of another set. Adding a slash to a mathematical symbol typically means to append the word not. We also have superset notation. Subset and superset notation is very similar to rewriting expressions using inequalities. If every element of set A is also an element of set B, then we say A is a subset of B. The subset symbol mixed with the equality symbol is technically redundant. By definition, a set will always be a subset of itself. After all, everything in A is also in A, satisfying the subset definition. But the notation to indicate a proper subset is very useful and often required. It indicates a set that is a subset but does not have the potential for equality. The empty set is a set with no elements. Think of it as a container that exists, but it's just empty. So be mindful not to say an empty set does not exist. Remember, a set is a container, and the empty set is a container that is just simply empty. The empty set is a very common and famous set in mathematics. It plays a key role in the logic of set theory. In mathematics, a false statement is anything that leads to a contradiction. A true statement is any statement that is not false. A vacuously true statement is a statement that is true simply because the alternative leads to a contradiction. The term vacuously true is reserved for instances where the statement may be difficult or clumsy to logically reason or explain as a true statement. Vacuously true statements are often proved by assuming the alternative and demonstrating that it leads to a contradiction. That is often referred to as proof by contradiction. A statement that starts with "for all x in the empty set" will always be a vacuously true statement. This explains why the empty set is always a subset of any given set. Let me take a moment to go to my notebook, and I will attempt to explain these concepts with examples. Suppose set A is a set of numbers 1, 2, ... all the way up through 9 and 10. So it's basically the set of whole numbers from 1 to 10. Now let's suppose that set B is a set of numbers 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10. B is not inside of A. So we do not want to imply this. So B is not in A. So this is a true statement. This, what I just wrote, this expression, B is not an element of A. But all the elements inside of B are also elements of A. So in that case, we say B is a subset of A. Okay? Now, we have an equivalent notation. So here's what I'm going to point out. If you recall, once upon a time, 3 is less than 4, correct? And an equivalent statement would be 4 is greater than 3. So we say that these two expressions are equivalent, not identical, because one's using less than symbol, the other one is using greater than symbol, but they are equivalent in what they're trying to show. So, with that said, this is actually an equivalent statement where we say A is a superset of B. The subset always kind of goes with the rounded edge. So in the first case, we say B is a subset of A, and in the second case, we say A is a superset of B. These two statements are effectively equivalent to each other, just using the symbol flipped backward. Okay, let's move along with some other examples. That is the subset notation. For any set that we have, A is always a subset of itself. This is always true. There are times where you'll see mathematicians write this symbol, and this is getting back to what I said on my lecture slide earlier. This is true, but this is what we might say is redundant. This is a true statement. A subset is always a subset of itself. But sometimes if you really want to point out that there certainly is the possibility for a set to be equal, then you may use that symbol. Now, there is a variation of this symbol that is very important. A is a subset but not equal to B. So what this effectively is doing is it's actually making two statements at the same time. A is a subset of B, and we're not allowing the potential for A to be equivalent to set B. Remember, the empty set. It's a very famous and very important set inside of mathematics. We have a more modern representation for it that you've seen in my slides, and we have a slightly older symbolic representation for it. The new representation for it, when I say new, as of like maybe the early 1900s, it's a perfect circle with a slash going from the upper right to the lower left. But before that, a lot of times mathematicians would do this to represent the empty set. So this is a little bit older, but it does have an intuitive look to it. It's a container because that is what the empty set is. It is a container, but it's just simply empty. I've seen students actually do this before, where they will draw this as a roster form and then put that symbol inside of it. This is a set containing the empty set. Imagine at your home that you have a bowl, and inside of that bowl you have another bowl that's empty. So this inner bowl is an empty bowl, but this outer bowl is not empty because it contains an empty bowl. This notation right here is not what you want to use for the empty set, so this is going to have these two crosses through it just to make sure everybody's aware that we don't mix these two symbols whenever we're talking about the empty set. The empty set is important for a lot of reasons. Most of the time when a mathematician starts bringing up some sort of really nice properties about the elements of a set, the first thing the mathematician will have to do is prove that the set is not empty. Typically that's a very trivial thing. It doesn't require a lot of work. All the mathematician has to do is show that there's at least one object inside of this set. The reason is because if you're talking about an empty set, you end up in kind of a logical a situation to where everything can be proven true about it because you can never really disprove it, so to speak. So let me give a demonstration of a vacuously true statement using the empty set. So first, we already know that a set is always a subset of itself. That is a true statement that is just fine by going to kind of a direct argument to prove it. Everything in A is an element of A. And in a subset, as long as everything in the subset is an element of the superset, then it's fine. So by direct statement, it's obvious to see that A will always be a subset of itself. So we say that that is just a true statement, and it doesn't really feel awkward to make it as kind of a direct proof. Is the empty set a subset of any given set? Well, this is true, but let's make the argument. Everything in the empty set, if it is a subset, that means everything in the empty set is a subset of A. There's nothing in there, so I guess what I'm trying to point out is that this creates a little bit of an awkward feeling. It doesn't feel like we're really saying much. Maybe we'll take a proof by contradiction approach. So let's consider the two options. The two options are, this is a true or this is a false statement. This will either be a completely true statement or it will be a completely false statement. True path leads to something that's a little bit awkward. So what I'll do is with this statement, I'll put kind of a question mark here because this one feels awkward. We didn't really make much headway with this. If this is a false statement, which means the empty set is not a subset of A, that must mean that there's something in the empty set that is not inside of A. Immediately, we see the contradiction. The contradictions in mathematics, we have a special symbol to where mathematicians will either draw two arrows facing each other, kind of showing an impasse, or sometimes mathematicians will kind of draw this little lightning bolt looking thing. In either case, this one led to a contradiction, so it cannot be a statement that is valid. So, if our assumption was that the empty set is not a subset, that led to a contradiction. This means that this must be a true statement. It's a vacuously true statement. The only reason that it's true is because the alternative is false. There's always two subsets of a set. We have the set itself is always a subset, and the empty set is always a subset. If you notice, I always write and I always refer to it as the empty set. The reason that we say the empty set, highlighting this, is that all sets that contain the same elements are considered equivalent. Every empty set is effectively the same set as any other empty set. Let's suppose that we have set A, and let's suppose set B Now, notice that A is certainly not a subset of B. A is not a subset of B. That's certainly true. Why? Because A has elements that are not inside of B. So given that 1 is in A but it's not in B, we say A is not a subset of B. It's also true that B is not a subset of A. Why is that? Because B contains a value that is not in A. Specifically, the number 6 is in B, but it's not in A, so therefore B cannot be a subset of A. Let's consider a situation where a set can contain other sets, but not be a subset. So let's first define S as the set of numbers 1, 2, 3, and let's suppose T is the set of numbers 2, 5, and 8. And let's suppose that set D is the set containing S and T. Now in this case, what you want to imagine D is effectively a set that contains two other sets, or D is a bowl and it contains two other bowls. So this is D, this is set S, this is T. So this is where we have a set containing other sets, and in this case, S is not a subset of D, so we say that this, in this case, is an incorrect statement. However, we would say that S is an element of D. And in this expression, this is true. Okay? Make sure you understand the subtle differences here. D is a set containing other sets, but those sets are not subsets. Those sets are elements of D. This can get a little confusing. It takes a little practice to get used to, but you'll eventually master it with a little bit of practice. Okay, that concludes my demonstration on my notebook. So to summarize, the empty set is always a subset. A set is always a subset of itself. A false statement is any statement that leads to a contradiction, and a true statement is any statement that is not false. Notice the false statement is the one explicitly defined, and the true statement is simply the logical negation of the false statement. Vacuously true statements are true simply because the alternative leads to a definite contradiction. And remember, the only requirement to be a true statement is that it does not lead to a contradiction. It might feel awkward, but it is better than a contradiction. Make sure that you know the symbols for containment, know that you know the symbols for subset, and that you know the difference between the two of them. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to your comments. Please leave positive feedback if you feel like these lectures are good. Also, leave feedback for how they can improve. Thank you for your time and watching this lecture, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one.